Raptors point guard Jamal Shead started his rookie season as a relative unknown, but fans quickly learned his name based on his on-court performances, and heading into year 2, I believe his production is only going to go up. So here's why you should be excited about what he could bring to the team in the 2025-2026 season. Let's get into it. This is Amateur Sports. It's a YouTube channel that is completely dedicated to giving you Toronto Raptors content in videos like this. Make sure you like if you do enjoy along the way, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like it. And today it's all about Jamal Shead, because this is a player that is exciting me going into his second NBA season. After getting selected 45th overall by the Raptors in the 2024 NBA draft, Jamal Shead was quick to impress the fan base because he wasn't your typical 45th overall pick. Jamal Shead was a player who bet on himself going into that season. Heading into the 2024 NBA draft, there was a lot of interest surrounding Jamal Shead as a player, but most of that interest was to sign him on a two-way contract in the second round. Jamal Shead said no to this. He held out and waited for a team who wanted to give him a guaranteed NBA contract. The Raptors were the team to do that with the 45th overall pick they acquired in the Jalen McDaniels trade, when they sent Jalen McDaniels to the Sacramento Kings, who then got sent to the Spurs and then got waived. Yes, the Raptors in that trade acquired the picks that would become this year Elijah Martin, in that year Jamal Shead, also Sach Vezenkov, who they waived for nothing, and Davion Mitchell, who was supposed to be the backup point guard for the Raptors last season. At least that was the expectation. That was until Jamal Shead took the backup point guard role by the scruff of the neck and said that it was his. And he played so well that the Raptors had the confidence at the trade deadline to move on from Davion Mitchell to prioritize the playtime and the development for Shead. Now, before we go any further, just want to preface the rest of the video by saying, if you're watching this when this video comes out, I'm currently on vacation. If anything that I say, I don't think for this video to matter, but anything that I say in this video that isn't relevant or is inaccurate, it's because I've been away since the July 24th, so bear with me, I apologize. But Jamal Shead was quick to impress Raptors fans because of his on-court productivity, particularly on the defensive end of the floor. It doesn't take a lot for Raptors fans to really fall in love with a player. And I think the culture that's been kind of set for what the fan base wants to see is just this dogged mentality, this work rate defensively, just an absolute animal on the floor. And that is exactly what Jamal Shead provided. And it's a main reason why the Raptors were so confident in taking him with that 45th overall pick. But, I looked at what he brought after 4 seasons in college with Houston, where, he's a bit of a legend there. I looked at what he brought there, and I was fearful about what he was going to be able to do in the NBA, because we knew the defense was there. It was a question about the offense and what he could do from that standpoint. The playmaking could be there, but how was this going to be a player? A 6'1" point guard, undersized. How was this player who couldn't shoot and couldn't really put pressure on the rim, how was he going to stay on the floor on the offensive side of the ball? Well, there was enough defensively that made us happy. Offensively, there was still some excitement being drawn up. Here were his stats from that season: 7.1 points per game, 4.2 assists, just under 1 steal. And the field percentages, honestly, were a little bit better than I thought they'd be. I know they're not great, but they were still a little bit better than I thought they'd be. He shot 40% from the field and 32% from 3. This was a player I expected to be comfortably under 30% shooting from 3. But there was enough from that rookie season to suggest to me that there could be just enough shooting there to stay relevant enough on the perimeter. Per 36 numbers, 13.1 points per game, 8 assists, 1.4 steals. There was enough there. There was enough to suggest to me, and evidently enough to suggest to the Raptors, that they could confidently make this their backup point guard going into what is now the upcoming season, the 2025-2026 season. For a Raptors team that has some expensive contracts, a lot of players on very high salaries, pushing right up against the luxury tax, they needed some of these developmental pieces to come through. Jamal Shead is a firm example of one of those pieces coming through, and like I said in the intro, I can only expect this to get better for the upcoming season. Summer League doesn't exactly mean everything. Doesn't always mean a lot either. But there were quite a few signs from that Summer League that has me excited about Jamal Shead. I think in particular, it's still his demeanor. That is his strongest trait, his demeanor on the floor. He really seemed to be the guy who drove that culture for that Summer League team. That was such a fun team to watch. that really embodied like everything you want from the Raptors. This defensive first culture, this team first culture, everybody working for each other, this dogged mentality, players willing to work on both ends of the floor, particularly on the defensive end of the floor. It felt to me like for a lot of those games, Jamal Shead was the driving force of that Summer League team. And even though he's only a second-year player, he is one of the older players because he was drafted as a senior out of college. Even though he's a second-year player, it still feels to me like this can be a bit of a leadership figure on the court and can only stand to get better defensively. But again, we know all of that stuff defensively. Now he's in a bigger role. Now he's on a role where the Raptors are going to be really trying to make the playoffs this season. He's going to be getting the bulk of the minutes as the backup point guard. Like, it's not a battle between him and Davion Mitchell for the backup point guard role. Davion Mitchell's been moved on. Jamal Shead is the backup point guard. So why am I excited about the prospect of this player? I think in the grand scheme of things, as far as like the backup point guard hierarchy in the NBA, he's going to be entering the season on the lower end of that hierarchy. But opportunity to move forward. Where I've always been impressed with Jamal Shead, because the shooting was a little bit better than expected. Where I've always been impressed is his ability to still find ways to get creative and get good looks on the inside. Again, for a point guard of his size, he's not going to be ultra efficient on the interior, but I was impressed from day one in that rookie season with his ability to still get to the rim and find some good looks for himself, always willing to work in that direction. Now, he's always going to be a team first player, but when he has to, he can be a scorer on the interior. And I saw a lot of great developmental signs of that getting even better over the course of Summer League. That was one of the big areas of improvement. On the three-point shooting side of things, clearly it's something he's working on. In Summer League, I think the biggest thing to me was he shot the ball okay from three. The biggest thing to me was the confidence in shooting from three. If he was open, if he got a shot off the catch, sometimes off the dribble, if he was open, there wasn't really any hesitation. If he was open, he was going to shoot the three. And sometimes for a player who isn't the strongest as far as a three-point shooter is concerned, there is that hesitation. There is that seed of doubt. It doesn't seem to be there for Jamal Shead. So I think that's where the excitement kind of comes into play for this player here. It's because the defense is NBA caliber. It was NBA caliber last season, and it is going to be even better, I think, this season. But it's the offensive side of the ball where I think there is going to be some excitement brewing up for Raptors fans. Because if he can continue to put pressure on the rim in the way that he did a little bit last season, but especially in the way he did in Summer League, that is going to make him a better player. If he can continue to rise up and get better from three, like the fact that he was able to go 32% from three in his rookie season, in a season I thought that he wouldn't even be above 30%. Again, it does give me the hints that maybe this is going to be a player that can get up to the NBA average level. Can he get up to 35% plus? I'm not saying it's going to happen next season in particular, but I think eventually we can get there for Jamal Shead. In the end, this is a player that seems to be willing to do whatever is necessary to help his game and whatever is necessary to help his team. I think that this is a player that Raptors fans have rightfully fallen in love with, and I think that you should be really excited about what he can bring to the floor next season.